Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the KnifeCenter. Sorry we missed New Knife Wednesday yesterday, so to make it up, we're just doing it today on Thursday. We've got a bunch of cool new stuff this week, some nice new outdoor fixed blades, some tactical stuff, some fancier folders, and a few other interesting pieces. Let's check them out. Now normally I leave fixed blades closer to the end, but today we're going to start with them because I'm really excited about this. It's a new design from my friend LT Wright. It's the LT Wright Aluminous V, which is a bigger survival Scandi type of knife. Despite having 5 in the title, this is actually a 5.6-inch blade, and it is a Scandi grind, as you can see, and it's 5/32 of an inch thick. So you can tell already that it's beat to take a beating, or it's made to take a beating, I should say. You can really put this through a lot of abuse, especially because this is 3V steel, which is one of their upgraded options for sure. Definitely a lot of power and a lot of jobs that you could really put this knife through. Of course, like all LT Wright knives, it has a very comfortable handle, fills the hand very nicely. Kind of a shape that's inspired by the Ray Mears Woodlore bushcraft knife. It's just a classic shape that works really well. And again, another thing that all LT Wright knives have is a crisp spine, so you can of course throw a spark from the fire steel with that. All around, very high quality piece, and it was actually designed by Spen Stelzer of JRE Industries, who is LT's sheath maker, which, coming to the sheath, comes with a really nice leather affair. You get a dangler loop here. You can fold that under if you don't like it, and you can thread through there, or you can take it off if you really don't like it. You also get a nice fire steel loop here, and overall, that's just a phenomenal package that you can take with you into the woods. One more interesting thing that you may not notice, or you may not see too often at this point from LT Wright, is the logo is actually laser engraved. Most of his stuff is stamped, so for the collectors out there, that's going to be something that's nice that you'll appreciate as well. In addition to that, we've got another new LT Wright in stock now. It's actually a pre-existing model. It's the Bushcrafter HC. Previously it was available with a convex grind, but now we have these new versions with a high saber grind. So if you want a little better slicing geometry, you can get that with this new version of the Bushcrafter HC. We've got black canvas micarta and python micarta, which we're really excited about. All you guys seem to be excited about it too. Everything we've been bringing in lately with python has been a hit. And it's a smaller knife, balances really well, I'll say, kind of a little bit behind the index finger. So it's slightly handle heavy, but it's actually so light that you don't really feel it. The handles are of course very strong. You get the Loveless style bolts, and you have a nice 2-ton epoxy, or a marine grade epoxy holding that on there. One thing I didn't mention about the Aluminous that I'm really happy with is the balance. I talked about it there on the Bushcrafter, but on the Aluminous, it's a very neutral balance. You know, you're kind of right there, right where your index finger naturally holds the grip, which is nice because even though this is a bigger knife and it's thicker and you've got a fair bit of weight out in the blade, it doesn't handle too terribly. Because of that balance, it handles a little more nimbly. You're not fighting the weight of the knife as you go to move around and actually cut stuff with it. So really cool. Aluminous V and the new black canvas and python canvas high saber Bushcrafter HCs. Very cool. 105 on the black, and we're at 120 on the python. So now we're going to shift gears from something complete opposite end of the spectrum as those bushcraft knives. We've got a very tactical, this new CRKT Provoke with the new flat dark earth finish. So you still get a little bit of black on the kinematic arms here, but the rest of the finish is actually a flat dark earth Cerakote finish. Looks really cool, and it's going to protect the blade probably even better than the all black version did. But it still has that kinematic action. I mentioned the arms here, and the way those work, you know, with your finger through the ring there, you place your thumb right here, and you push the blade out. It requires a bit of a firm press, but it fires it out really quickly. And what's cool about that is, especially if you use the optional Bolteron sheath, or the optional sheath that you can buy, is it's held very intuitively on your belt, so you can just grab, and your thumb's right there already ready to push it out without altering your grip. So you're ready to go very quickly, which is nice. Materials are the same apart from that finish. It's D2 blade, chisel ground, but it has a secondary bevel on each side. And one thing they've upgraded versus the original black is they've changed the pivot hardware from, originally it was a flathead driven bolt, but now you can see we have Torx bolts there, which is nice. Nice little added, little bit of an upgrade there. The other thing, they've changed from a silver clip to a black stonewashed clip, and it lays very flat. So even if you don't use that, the sheath, you can clip it in very easily. You actually push right up here near the top, and it flexes the tip out so it can slide in, and then it's very low profile and very easy to access. A lot of people have been asking where, how to unlock these knives. Because it is a little bit different. It's not quite intuitive. There's a little tab here. You kind of hook your fingernail in there and pull up. And that's what unlocks the blade. But overall, really cool knife. Even better with, I think it looks even better than the black version. And we're at 200 bucks on this guy right here. All right, let's talk flippers. We've got a new piece from Artisan Cutlery, a new variant, I should say, of the Cygnus knife. Two new variants, actually. We've got a carbon fiber version, as well as this G10 version that has some cool geometric lines going through it. It's not just a simple texture. So it looks very cool. The carbon fiber looks great also, and they both have this accenting orange pivot hardware. The other things, other nice features of note here, we've got a hidden lanyard attachment point here. D2 steel. I know when some people saw this, they thought it looks a little bit like an Elijah Isham design, but it actually isn't, but you do get some of that kind of geometric flair. But they're built really nicely, and they're at a good price point too. We're at $52.50 on the new G10 version, $64.50 on the new carbon fiber version. We get D2 blades, bearing-based pivot, so it flips open really nicely, and for an affordable style piece, it does really well. Really well. The blade is stout. You can definitely cut well with it. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. Pretty neat looking knife. You can still get your work done, but it looks great doing it as well. We've also got some new variants of the Artisan Cutlery Wen in this week, which is a really cool knife. It's higher end than the Cygnus. We start at $187.50 on this, but it's a full titanium frame, S35 VN steel, bearing-based pivots, the whole 9 yards. Everything you want a modern flipper to have at a pretty good price. And the blade is just under 3 inches too. We've got a couple of new colors that have joined some of the pre-existing colors. We actually do have a pretty good selection, but the green, black, and standard metallic look are new for us this week. Nice contoured radius to the handle, and we got some fine machined lines in it too. Has a nice, really subtle texture, but it feels really good. Almost satin in a way, even though you can just barely discern the ridges. But I like the blade shape a lot. You've got this kind of modified sheep's foot profile, as I said, but you do have a little bit of belly going on. It's not completely straight. Overall, I think this is going to be a very usable shape for EDC. Holds really nicely. Finger choil's not super huge. If you have bigger fingers like me, it might be a little bit cramped. But you can, of course, always just kind of hook in front of the flipper tab a little bit for that finer control of the blade. Two-tone finish on the blade, or bidirectional finish on the blade. We've got horizontal lines on the flats and the lines going the other way on the grinds. Overall, I think it's a really nice presentation, a really cool piece. Yeah, milled titanium pocket clip on the back. It's reversible, and you've got that insert that you can swap around so you don't have an empty hole sitting there on the side you're not using. So we're going to keep it going with a couple of fancier knives, and the first one is the Alliance Designs Scout by Pat Hammond. So Alliance is a relatively new venture. They're working with some really good top name designers, and I love what Hammond has come up with for this Scout. It's a smaller knife. We're at about 2¼ inches of blade, and we've got RWL 34 steel, which is a cool choice you don't see too often, at least not on production stuff. But the frame itself, titanium frame lock, very narrow, carries nice and flat, and that blade length you can take just about anywhere. You know, it's nice and compact. You can fit it in any pocket, a bag, a purse, even whatever you want. And we've got a couple of different milled patterns. He calls this his fishbone milling pattern. Or I should say we only have one pattern, it's the fishbone, but a couple different fill colors. So we've got blue, purple, gold, and the green, which is right here. And the reason I picked the green out is because green can kind of go a couple of different ways. It can be a little duller, a more matte finish, but this green is really vibrant, especially under the lights here. It looks almost like neon. It's really cool. It looks really good. I can't really say too much good about it because it's a bright green. You just don't see this kind of vibrance too often. I'm rambling a little bit. That's fine. It's a cool color. You should check it out. We're at $225 on these knives. The quality is phenomenal. Carries nice and small. Flips nice. Looks great. Cool thing. So taken from the Spyderco discontinued list, we have the blue stepped titanium version of the Chaparral. And what's great about it being discontinued, well, it's bad that it's discontinued because it's a really cool knife, but because it is, we're able to offer a really good price on these. We're at $200 on this knife right now. And it's a phenomenal gentleman's knife. Again, like the Scout, it's nice and slim. The blade itself is nice and skinny too. So it's a narrow blade stock and a full flat grind. It's gonna slice very well. And we have CTS XHP steel as well on this blade. So it's gonna cut for a long time as well, highly efficiently. Lockback mechanism, wire deep carry pocket clip, and it is reversible, which is nice. But I think the Chaparral in general, especially the lightweight version, is one of the more underrated EDC designs out there. But this step titanium one looks great, and for $200, you're getting a lot of milling in the handles, and that kind of thing costs money. So normally you're going to pay a lot more, or it used to be you're paying a lot more for this knife with all that machining on it. We've also got the plain step titanium without the blue, also at $200, but it looks great. You got enough handle there, you got the finger choil, everything you want from a Spyderco in a really fancy gentleman's knife carry, and at a great price. So I said 1.5 more fancier knives because this new one here, this is the Crudo Feroce, and it's getting into tactical, but it's definitely a spiced up version of a tactical blade. So what makes all the Crudo knives nice is you get a lot of attention to detail and a lot of fit and finish, a lot of nicer features that you usually pay a lot of money for. And this one right here is only $145. The trade-off of that is the steel is not the latest and greatest. This is a 9CR stainless steel, but it makes up for that with that precision and with those nice extra features, which I'll show you some of them right now. So the first thing you'll see is we've got dual inlays on the stainless steel handles. We've got copper as well as carbon fiber. Not just one, two is better than one, so we get both of them there. And that's echoed on the backside as well. Again, it's a stainless steel frame lock. We do have a lock bar insert. We also have a machined pocket clip as opposed to folded, and it has a neat little ball here at the end. Not a ball, it's actually a little machined piece that screws in, but it has a real fine point of retention. But the handle's very comfortable, if a little bit weighty. Again, it is stainless steel, so it's not going to be as light as aluminum or titanium. But what I like about pretty much all the Crudos is they have a crown spine. That makes it comfortable, and it's just nice to look at too. It's something you appreciate when you've got it in hand. We've also got compound grinds on this knife, but unlike anything else that I've ever seen, we've got a primary flat grind here and a hollow ground tip, almost like a swedge, but it goes a little bit further than most swedges go. But it does some similar things. It's going to keep that tip nice and acute so it can pierce a little bit better. Plus it looks kind of cool. Another thing you'll see that's a common Crudo element is their signature thumb wedge here. It does a couple of things. First, when it's open, it does provide a nice thumb ramp. Nice and comfortable. You get a wide surface area. So if you really are bearing down, you're not concentrating your thumb just on the spine of the knife. It's going to spread that around a little more and be a little bit more comfortable to use. It also helps facilitate the opening. So we do have a ball bearing pivot, and we can open this in 3 different ways. The first obviously is a flipper. Opens up really nicely. You can also use the tab up here for front flipper duty. In addition to that, that thumb wedge actually operates as a quick open mechanism as you draw the knife. Similar to an Emerson Wave, which is kind of what it's emulating here. As you draw the knife from the pocket, that wedge can catch on the hem. Then that was not a great illustration because I'm pulling with my hand, but it works very well, catches the hem and rotates the blade open as you pull the knife out of your pocket. So overall, a really cool knife, and I think you're getting a lot for the $145. They are imported, but every one of them is quality controlled and hand checked here in the US. And I've been impressed with the construction on all of these Crudos. And there's something different too, which is it's hard to be different out there and without going too over the top. And I think the Crudos walk that line very well. So I mentioned the Emerson Wave with the Crudo, and here we've got another new Emerson. It's the Super CQC 15. And this has that wave-shaped opener that's inspired a bunch of different imitators, or not imitators, but a bunch of different people have been trying to do something as good as that. The Crudo has their own spin on it, but it's the same deal. You've got that quick draw. As soon as you pull it from your pocket, it's already rotating out and open. And with this knife especially, we've got over 4 inches of steel. Brings a lot of steel to bear very quickly. And we're 154 cm stainless, as is a lot of their stuff. Two-tone finish. We've got stone washed flats and ground bevels, and a lot of handle real estate on this knife. You know, I have larger hands, but I still have plenty of room. Even if I were wearing gloves, I think I would have a fair bit of room here, even though it does have a beak here on the end. But it's going to provide a good amount of traction, a good amount of purchase in those tactical scenarios. It is an Emerson, so you get the nicely textured G10. And another opening method, in addition to that wave, we've got the ambidextrous thumb plate. So what's cool about the Crudo is they actually kind of combine those two pieces, or those two elements, into one single piece to get a similar effect, which is pretty cool. But back to this Emerson, it's a big Emerson. We've got some compound grinds here. They're all flat, but we've got a little bit of a different shape. You got the recurve here, a little bit of a vertex here, so it's not quite clip point or tanto or drop point or anything. It's sort of a hybrid of all of them. And price on this, we're at $288, and yeah, it's a big Emerson. It's cool. So Emerson definitely makes one of the tougher tactical folders out there, and so does this next guy. We've got a new batch of Rick Hinderer XM18s in stock. We've actually got a few different variants in this batch. We've got both flipper and non-flipper versions. I'm going to start with the flipper one. These do come with Rick's new tri-way pivot, which means it flips phenomenally well, and you've got that extra hardware in the box in case you want to swap washers out, change the feel of the knife a little bit. But this batch has CPM 20 CV blade steel with Rick's slicer grind, which, if you're at all familiar with that, you already know. But basically, you've got a stouter bevel, or a more obtuse grind here at the back, so you can power through cuts with a little more strength, and it gets a little bit thinner as you move out towards the tip for a little more slicing efficiency. And it's a great steel choice too. Titanium frame lock, as you'd expect. Reversible pocket clip, or 2-position pocket clip. It is right side only. Titanium back frame, and we've got a couple of different colors on the flipper versions. We've got both black and OD green. And now for one of the non-flippers, which is not something you see too often these days on an XM18. These are the full frame XM18s. These aren't the skinnies, so you have a good amount of grip. But even without the flipper, it still opens really nicely, because this also does still have that tri-way pivot. That doesn't change even though we don't have the flipper. You open it with the thumb studs instead. Of course, you can do that on the flipper versions too. It also has those thumb studs. And these non-flipper versions are the spear point blade. They don't have the slicer grind, just the more traditional flat grind, but 20 CV steel again. And on all of these, I think we're at 425 on these. Few different colors on the non-flippers. We've got black as well, but we've got orange and blue also. The only other thing I wanted to mention, these 20 CV blades have the working finish, which is sort of a really heavy stone-washed finish. So these knives are ready to throw down. So we're going to keep the tactical train rolling with a Medford, and this is the Praetorian Swift, which is his first automatic design. It's based, of course, on the Praetorian series, so you got that signature blade shape, sort of a Tonto profile with a dropped spine. Compound grinds were hollow here and flat at the tip for a little bit more strength, while keeping the slicing efficiency back on the cutting edge. The steel is S35VN, and as I said, it is an automatic, and it's a push button affair here from the side. Fires the blade open. Not super quick, but definitely very nicely and very easily. We have a safety here behind the button, and that works when the knife is open or closed. So it's a little bit of extra reassurance. If you're really gripping the knife hard, you're not gonna have to worry about accidentally pushing that button down. And if it's in your pocket and you wanna make doubly sure it's secure, it's not gonna fire open when the button isn't, or the safety is engaged. Handle itself is OD green anodized aluminum, and we do have a pocket clip here on the back. It's one position only, tip up on the right side, but one little cool thing, you got the little Medford M there in the clip. So if you're in the know and you see someone carrying it, you're gonna know it's a Medford, but it's not so shouty and like in your face. It has a little bit more subtlety to it, which is pretty cool, I think. So we're at $525 on this knife. It's all American made. It's got that great Medford swagger. And if you're a fan of that style, this is gonna be right up your alley too. So one more automatic, we have the new Benchmade Autocrat, which is what's interesting about this, or what makes this noteworthy, apart from being a new Benchmade, is it's an all G10 handle. Of course, there are metal elements inside, but it's a G10 frame, so that brings the weight down a little bit versus some of their heavier offerings like the Infidel, and it's nice and comfortable too. We've got some really smooth flow to it. Even though you can see some facets, you don't really feel that in the hand at all. It just melts in there. Got a side firing switch, out the front auto, S30V steel, which is a nice upgrade from the D2 that you see on a lot of their other autos. And we've got two versions. There's the satin version, we're at $408 on that, as well as the black coated version, which is $425. Double-edged blade. What's great about OTS in general is they're very ambidextrous, at least as long as the pocket clip is set up to be reversible. And that is the case here. You've got a deep carry oxide finish pocket clip, and it truly is deep carry. It buries the knife way into your pocket, and you can put it on either side. So the blue accenting hardware on this is pretty nice too. The switch switch itself is anodized, but the screws are actually a PVD coated finish. It's a sapphire titanium oxide PVD. So it's not quite the same blue as the switch. You have a little bit of a different sheen, a little bit of a different vibe, but it's pretty darn cool. Last but not least, we've got some new stuff from RMJ. The first one is some new limited run thumpers. And I'm gonna get to more of this in a second, but also RMJ has recently acquired the American Tomahawk brand, and we've got some new models from them. They're reintroducing that brand, applying all their same great build quality and attention to detail that RMJ is known for. The Model 1 Tomahawk is the first, and we've got both the hickory handled as well as the nylon handled versions. Really cool Tomahawks. I just don't happen to have them in front of me. So let's look at these thumpers. We've actually got 5 different ones. They are Tennessee hickory handles, and they've all got some some Halloween holiday themed wood burning in it. They're pretty sure they're lasered because they're very consistent one to the next. And they're $55 on these. And this one I have here says Pumpkin Smasher. You've got the nice RMJ logo here on the end. In addition to that, we got all of these too. So I'll just show you these real quick. But of course you can find all of these on our website. We've got the Happy Halloween right here, some bats going on, and you've got the hockey mask up there with some machetes. You know what that is. Trick or treat, give me something good to beat. Not that we're condoning any of that. Got the All Hallows Eve, again with the hockey mask up there, as well as the Michael Myers version. You can see his mask up there for things that go bump in the night. So pretty cool, fairly affordable too. You can find all of those using the links. As far as the design, they're not super heavy. You've got just enough weight that you can swing it easily, but you've got enough behind it that it will bring some force to bear when you're smashing some pumpkins. You've got some nice bit of some rings that have been burned in down here that provide some grip. and a little bit of a flare on the end, almost like a baseball bat, that makes sure you can have a solid grip on these as well. A little bit of 550 cord is included. Yeah, 55 bucks, pretty fun little item right there. So that's all the new stuff I've got to show you right now. If you want to see all this new stuff even sooner, make sure you're subscribed to our newsletters. And to get your hands on any of these things, you can use the links in the description to head over to KnifeCenter.com. And you should sign up for our Knife Rewards program while you're there so you can get some free money to spend on some of your next knives. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center signing off. See you next time.
Go.
We got things.
Things.
Things are nice.
Things are nice.
Can't use that. Whose phone is that? New knife, who dis? Oh, sorry, we got cut off earlier. Hang on, I gotta take this. Whatever.
Yeah, that's not camp at all.